Up next, presenting Pesabase, we have Nihil Majok. I hand over to Nihil now.
Thanks very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nihal, as he said. I'm the founder of Pesabase. The thing I love about crypto is that there's so many different people doing different things. I mean, every problem out there is being really rethought again and seeing whether we can do it better. So I founded Pesabase, and my aim is simple. I want to push the price of sending money to zero as much as I can. I moved to Australia about 14 years ago, and in that time frame, I think I've probably sent maybe $100,000, $200,000. From the moment I could walk, I just started sending money. That means the problem that I want to solve is really very close to my heart and to the people that I care about. So the issue with remittance is that it's hardly gone down over the last 14 years since I moved to Australia and since I started sending money. The cost of sending money is 9%, and as I will show you later, there's actually places where it's as much as 18%. So if you want to send money, and Africa generally receives about $40 to $160 billion, you really want to send as much money as you can to the people that you care about. Yes, if you have to use the services that you have, there's no option to use those. But if there's a future in which you can make it really cheap and easier to do that, then the alternative is what you'll go for. So the two problems are basic, simple: remittance and currency. See, Africa has 10 of the top 20 highly inflationary currencies at the moment. What does that tell you? That means there's a lot of dead currencies coming in the coming years. And if these people have no options, it's not good for them. Simple example, I was born in South Sudan. Current inflation at the moment is 400%. My mom works there, and over the last few years, whatever she's done is almost worth nothing at the moment. When you don't have any option to actually choose another currency and be able to save in that currency cheaply and easily, you're stuck. So you're exposed to what your leaders can do. You're exposed to what your government can do. And if your government doesn't care about you, then you're likely to suffer. So what do we want to do to try and solve this problem? We want to build two solutions. One is easy, exchange. Everyone knows what an exchange is. The ability to buy crypto, at as cheap a price as possible. The most important one, though, is a simple multi-currency e-wallet. The ability to hold more than one currency, so that you have the option, if you have an inflationary environment, you can hold another currency, whether it's a normal digital currency or US dollar or pounds for those that actually have relatives from the UK. We want to build it on Omisigo because Omisigo have shown a tendency to want to solve the problem in such a way that will benefit the likes of myself and my company. We want to make it easy for these users using their phones to be able to access these options. Phone usage is one of the most impactful technology in Africa at the moment. Everyone there has a phone. Everyone that sends money to anyone in Africa is going to call with a phone and tell them, this is how much I've sent you. This is where you need to go pick it up. So any solution that leverages this technology will have an impact. And we think what blockchain gives us is the ability to bring this technology with the choice not to bank in current banking, with the choice not to just send using the current remittance players, but as the ecosystem grows, you can now use those backends. As liquidity grows, as the environment grows, I never would have predicted that Bitcoin will grow so fast. I thought give it 2 to 5 years, from last year, that we may start to see things like, 7,000, 5,000. I've been in Bitcoin from 2013 and I'm amazed. And so I really believe that solutions like this are going to be viable. Not 10 years down the line, but probably faster than that. So how do we want to structure this? How do we want to build Pesabase? And how do we want to get users to use it? It's simple, really. If you can make it zero, low fees to zero to send money, anyone that sends money to their relatives is going to come to you. There's no doubt about that. Because if you send $100 and you pay $9 for that, and there's someone that can charge 2 or 1%, and you're going to pay $1 or 0% when Bitcoin becomes even bigger and crypto becomes even bigger, you will go to that provider and say, I want more money to go to the pockets of those people that I care about, those people that I love. I want them to have $8 out of that $9 that I will have paid as fees. And so why use anything else? That's what you'll go for. And if our user base grows and becomes bigger, then you can approach companies and tell them, look, you're a small shop, why don't you accept payment? Someone sent $100, why do you have to go and cash out that $100 and pay the cash out fee for that? Why not just pay for what you need? You want to buy bread, you want to buy flour, you want to buy water. Some places actually have to buy water because there's no running tap. So these are the options that we want to give them. We want to build an agent customer model, and we want to say, if you are our member, you get all these benefits for as cheap as we can make them. And the dream is that with each year that crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum becomes bigger and bigger, that is going to be easier and easier to push towards zero. So Pesabase. Pesabase is basically saying, Africa is big. There's more than 50 countries. If you are going to handle any sort of currency, you need to have the ability to handle more than one, digitalized in some shape or form. M-Pesa has one currency, the Kenyan shilling. MTN mobile wallet in Uganda has one currency, the Ugandan shilling. If I want to give someone the power to choose any currency, just in case things go wrong, I want a wallet that allows me to do that, and I want a wallet that can be accessible anywhere in the cloud. So that's what we're trying to do. So the aim is that we're going to have something like this. You can hold it on your phone, you can download it, you can access it from any country that you travel to. How do we want to bring this to the communities that we want to impact? A lot of these communities, my own community included, we tend to have functions, we tend to like gathering together, to try and practice the traditional beliefs that we believe, whether our own marriage style or our own way of doing things. So in those things, you can become a sponsor. You can leverage whatever telcos and banks are willing to work with you to try and move the future of banking to the next stage. And then Facebook. Most of these people live in different countries. I've got relatives in Canada, I actually have relatives here. I've got relatives in America. And I can tell you the only way you keep up with these people is through things like Facebook. That's the only way you know what's happening. And so we can reach them there and tell them that what we build can help them. What happens at the moment in this space? When you think about sending money, who are the providers? The biggest provider for me, especially from Australia, is actually Dabshil. There are places that Western Union doesn't even go to. So South Sudanese in Australia send about $20-something million per year to their relatives in South Sudan. And the biggest user is Dabshil. That's the guy they use, that's the guy that gives them the US dollars on the other end. And the charges is 11% when you send $100. It gets better the more you send. But here's the catch. The World Bank says the average sending is about $200 to $400. So if it's more expensive in this range, it doesn't matter how cheaper it gets, the more you send. Where it matters is here. And so we can push that towards zero. That's more money we're giving people. The same thing with Western Union. It's hard to believe it, but there's actually 18% charges at the moment. It still exists. We were actually surprised when we were doing research. We thought, it shouldn't be too bad, maybe 10, 9% like the World Bank says, and then we went, whoa, 18%? WorldRemit is doing better. WorldRemit is really, really trying to do it a lot better. But we still think that there's a long way to go. So the people that are doing this thing, myself, I'm Niall, I've worked in IT for about 10 years. My last job was at IBM. Daniel is one of our lead guys. He's the CTO, he's the lead Bitcoin JS developer. If you've used any online Bitcoin software, he's likely has his fingers in it. Ivan has years of experience in the investment space. He's done a lot of investment as a stock market analyst. He came on board to just try and help me plan better, make sure that the failures that he's seen in the business world, that we can avoid them and leverage that skill set. Advisories, when we wanted to use Omisigo, we just reached out and say, look, this is what we want to do. Can you at least talk with us and see whether what we're trying to do can work? And so we talked to people like Vansa, Wendell, and they realized, yep, that's something that they're doing anyway. So if someone else wants to use it, why not? And so they're supporting us. Eddie, Yassine, the guys that you've seen around here, you know them. So what have we done so far and where are we headed? Pesabase has acquired a license in Australia because this whole space is regulated, so you need to really be compliant. So we've acquired the license and we can now send to East Africa to begin with. We are designing a mobile app. We've built a Java app that we plan to release end of this month, early December, to start testing the market. We believe that it's possible to actually build something. Blockchain is not the immediate solution, but it's going to be a solution in a very short period of time. At the end of this month, early next month, we're going to do about a seed raise of about 500K to $1 million. We've been working on this for about 2-3 months. We were not in a rush to raise money. Why? I've been in Bitcoin space, and I figured if I really believe in this, I could spend my own money, make sure I have the right team, the right set of people, and look at the problem and see whether it's really possible to solve it. And I think at this stage, I'm confident that we have the team to solve it. And I thought, okay, now I can reach out to my network and say, let's do a raise, let's take it to the next step. So that's pretty much us in a nutshell. If you're interested in what you're doing, we'll be happy to hear from you. Please follow us, say hello in whatever shape or form. The world is connected. We'll be grateful. Any questions?
I admire your vision
Yep.
for Africa.
Yep.
And but the remittance industry is quite saturated and competitive.
Yep.
I'm just struggling to see what you bring, what Pesabase brings
Yep.
to the market,
Yep.
other than just being another remittance company that seeks to transfer currencies in digital money.
Here's the interesting thing. With Bitcoin now, you can actually move money, at the digital level. So while previously you can say, hey, how many banks can I move, 1 million, 5 million through? If you build an exchange, let's say in Australia, and then you have exchanges in these countries, then now you have 2 gateways that you can move money at that level. So Kenya, for example, has one of the highest trading volumes recently, up to about 300,000 US dollars per week. This has been growing. Sorry?
Membesa, currency that they're using. Membesa.
They use M-Pesa. M-Pesa is just it's a phone technology that allows you to send money digitalized. So it's like a phone token that represents the Kenyan shilling that you can send through. It's really big. It does 28 billion. No. What I'm saying is effectively that if you can have people now trade digital currencies, then you can bypass the need to actually use banks to move the money. So we're building an exchange to leverage that capability so that we can move money. If we have people trading at both ends, then we can move money at both ends, and that means then we can reduce the price. Our aim is to push it to 0. If I raise money in the normal traditional VC space and say, I want to do this, they'll be like, what's the return on my money? If I do it and say, I just want to create a network effect, tending towards 0, then now we're talking because this is the token space. So that's the difference. My aim is to push it to 0 and create a network effect out of it. Question? Yeah.
In terms of your ICO,
Yeah.
would you be able to explain to me what your token does? For the whole
So my token is simple. It's really a membership token. What I'm telling my users is I want to push the price of sending money to 0. And in order to access that capability, rather than pay the normal industry price, which you've seen, why don't you become a member, buy the token, and you get all the services that comes with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you just repeat the next question as well? Sorry, I forgot to say for the camera.
Oh, okay. So the question for him? Okay. So the first question was, what do I bring to the space? Because remittance is really saturated, as he said. The second question was, sorry, can you say that again? What was the second?
What's the utility of your token?
The utility of the token. Thanks. Anyone else? Yeah, man.
It sounds like you want to be an NGO, really. I mean, your ambition is to really democratize the space in Africa and make money movement to the African continent as slick as possible and fee-free, right?
Yeah.
So your model is, how is it that you're going to be making money and keep yourself sustainable after you used all of your bit tokens?
That's a good question. So the question is effectively, it sounds like I really want to be an NGO. I really want to solve that problem and make it easy for them to send money. How would that really work? So our aim as a company is to just break even. So we want to get to a point where the cost of sending money, we just charge enough to cover the expenses of running the operation, number one. The other thing is, it's not an NGO. Why? Because we can do so much more. The moment you have 1 million users, you can add payments. When you add payments and you know how your users behave, you can talk to banks and say, hey, I know these people send $100 a month. You want to lend them some money? So you have things that you can do on top. The other thing is we looked at WhatsApp and we like what they do. WhatsApp is free, but it's not an NGO. It's a business. So we think it can be done in a similar way.
So you're trying to monetize data basically eventually?
To a certain extent, yes. Yeah, man.
One thing I don't really understand. So
Yep.
you're going to sell your coins, the Pesabase coins, right?
Yep.
On your roadmap, you said you wanted to raise a seed of 500K to 1 million.
Yep. Yep.
So you're planning to do an ICO and then raise money after?
No. This is just on the network. For myself, for example, I've already funded over 150,000 from my own money. So the next stage is the people that I've talked to that are supporting and helping me is to actually put in a bit more money and say, all right, is there a product market fit? Do people actually like the thought of sending money at a cheaper rate? And then after that, now we can think about the ICO. So it's not going to be an ICO immediately. It's going to be an ICO if people that we want to help and actually our users love what we build.
Thank you for the presentation. Why would someone use you instead of like Humanic?
I think Humanic seems to be approaching it in a different way. I don't know how they're approaching it at the moment. Maybe the user will use Humanic, but I read about Humanic 3 or 4 months ago and haven't really looked at it again. I will be happy if you can tell me more about Humanic, actually.
Well, I don't work for Humanic.
Okay.
I know I own a few of their tokens, but
Yeah.
from what I understand is that they've done, pilots in Nigeria, in Uganda,
Yeah.
and they offer a phone where you can, own money without having to have a bank account. Yeah?
Yeah.
Which is what we're all trying to achieve.
Yep.
But like their fee is very, very low. How is your Pesabase going to compete with like
I think from my perspective, I'm approaching it from the sense that I have a community of people that send about 24 million. I have a community that if you add the other Africans, I'm just talking about the South Sudanese, if you ask the other Africans in Australia, they send about 150 to 200 million to East Africa. So in a sense, yes, sir.
First world countries to send back to third world countries.
Yep, that's number one.
I think they're looking between third world, like they're looking to empower the action.
And that's true. That's actually a big problem because when you're sending locally within Africa, it's about 22% in cost. So if you use the network effect of people that already send money to Africa and then you leverage that, because the way we look at it is that this is just a starting point. We also want to solve the remittance problem in between African countries. If Humanic has done that and they have received traction and they're executing, I haven't seen it in my community, so I'm not too sure how they're doing. All I can say is that it's a big space. 40 to 160 billion being sent. The person that solves it in the easiest, most cost-effective way is likely to receive traction. There's a lot of guys in the space, Western Union and all that. So there's a lot. That means the problem hasn't been solved. One person should own it. Most spaces it ends up being one big person. Whether it's Google or something, you end up being the biggest guy. It means you've really solved the problem in a way everyone loves it.
So the other issue with me is how will you solve the problem of liquidity?
Well, so the question is, how will I solve the problem of liquidity? See, liquidity means that you have to have money on the other side. You get what I mean? So you always have to move money to the other side. Now, if I have an exchange on both sides, it's actually possible to have liquidity easily on the other side because it's easier for me to get Bitcoin and Ethereum in the developed world than it is to get it in the developing world. But the developing world is picking up now. They love the thought of trading Ethereum, Bitcoin, and the like. So if I can bring that and move it there, then I have two businesses. One that allows me to move money easily and get the money there. And second, a business that gives it out to the people, which is the remittance component.
Right, so let me just get
Yeah.
it straight. So the aim of the game is to retain digital currencies here
Yeah.
and then sell them in the third world.
That's,
and
yep. That's
And
one.
that's where the liquidity.
Yep, that's one. If you also see, we have the agent customer model. M-Pesa did a very interesting thing. They decentralized the ability to have cash out, cash in. So one of the leverages that we want to use is actually have the agent customer user base. So agents that own a shop or something and they open buy stuff for $10,000 from China or the like, we want to leverage that network and say, hey, why don't you provide cash out for these guys and we can always net you out. So we want to approach it in multiple ways.
Okay. Final question, and then it's the last one.
Yep, go ahead.
So, I mean, I think it's got huge potential. But what worries me is if people are holding money in a cryptocurrency,
Yep,
you know, that's tradable on a marketplace with people that aren't involved in the marketplace,
yep,
then the currency has a very volatile translation
yep,
rate
yep, yep,
to the local currency.
yep, yep,
So if you have entire adoption where everyone is using the cryptocurrency as a single currency of exchange, or you have a scenario where people could gain one day but could lose heavily the next day.
yep, yep,
In a developing country,
yep.
you know, people don't have the luxury
That's correct.
of that risk that we take.
So the movement of money is actually an ownership of Pesabase. Most of our market don't really care about what you use on the back end. They don't want to be exposed to anything that makes them lose 10%. Why tell them 0% if they use Bitcoin, it will go down by 10%? You get what I mean? That doesn't make sense. So for us, using crypto is the company back end to try and bring liquidity into those environment, Kenya, Uganda, and allow them, because there's enough interest in speaking up. And I look at Kenya at the moment, and I see it's at the same level that Australia was 4 years ago. I mean, when I used to go for a meetup, we used to be like 20 to 50 guys. And the average trading volume was 1 million, a month. I believe that is going to change in these African countries, and that means that's going to pick up. So as a company, you can use that growing space to actually move your money. But at the front end level, your users don't see anything except the real currencies, whether it's dollars or anything else, unless you are a savvy user that wants to enable the ability to see Bitcoin or Ethereum. In that case, then you have that option.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.